Hey everyone, my name is Mars, like the planet, and this is Housewarmin. To all the women that do not want children, this is a safe space because I don't want kids either. I am a 28-year-old queer black woman, and I have recently decided that I don't want children. I don't want kids. I don't think about having them. And it was a really hard decision to make. But I finally decided that I'm not having children. I don't want to have children. It's not my plans to have children. And I think that everyone is allowed to change their mind. I think that everyone is allowed to decide if having kids is for them, if it's for them and their partner or their husband or their spouse or whatever. But I just want to kind of vent and just talk about why a lot of women these days, a lot of millennials these days, a lot of Gen Zers these days are kind of deciding not to have kids. If you are a person that has kind of struggled with this decision, or you kind of feel like, am I the only person out there that don't want children? Like, is everybody else just drinking the Kool-Aid? Like, this video is for you. This is a safe space to rant and rave in the comments about maybe why you are not having kids. And if you are someone who is 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and has decided to not have kids, like, please tell us down in the comments down below how it is, because I am just 28 and I have really just made the decision for myself. So let's get into it. So I kind of decided when I was fairly young that I always wanted to have kids. I think that we face a lot of pressure as women to have kids. We're always, have our little baby dolls with us and our Barbies and things like that. And so I had kids' names picked out for the longest time. Like, I was always just like, yeah, I'm going to name my child this, I'm going to name my child that. That was like the whole thing that people would always talk about is like, what are you going to name your kids? How many kids do you want? Like, all of those things that we think about as a child. And I just thought that, like, yeah, like women, they have kids. Like, that's what they do. They get married to men and then they have children. And that's just always what I thought. And I had come across a few people, there are even a few people in my family that don't have children. And it was kind of just seen as like a sad thing. It was like, oh no, they couldn't find anybody. Like, oh no, they don't have a husband. They're not married. That's just so sad. Like, how she don't have kids? Like, what is she doing all day? And when I was growing up, like, even as a queer woman, even in a same-sex relationship, like, I still fully wanted to be a mother. I still fully, like, wanted a family. And then I just kind of started thinking, like, is this actually feasible for me? Like, is this something I could actually do? Like, I'm fully capable of having kids. There's nothing, like, I don't have a medical condition or anything like that. There's no reason why I wouldn't be able to actually bear children. But I just kind of started thinking, and I was just like, maybe this is not for me. Like, maybe kids are really not the thing that I want right now or ever. And when I started kind of trying to allow myself to think about maybe why I didn't have kids, or why having kids, or having a child in general just maybe wasn't the thing for me, I just felt like, am I the only one out here? Like, am I the only one that maybe just doesn't want a child? Like, when you grow up, your parents are always like, when are we going to have some grandbabies? When are you? You're next. You're this, you're that. And it's like, especially when you start dating, when you get married, you're like, oh, like, yeah, y'all are next. Like, when are the kids coming? Like, the day you get married, it's like, y'all better be popping out some babies. But yeah, like, I just really wanted to talk about how a lot of people, especially ones that are married, are choosing as a couple to not have kids. And I know there's a lot of backlash. I know there's a lot of hate. I know there are a lot of people out there that say that it's selfish, and it is. I know that there are a lot of people out there that think it's crazy that women do not want to produce children. I think it's, people think it's crazy that women and their husbands do not want kids. And they're like, what are you going to do the rest of your life? So, I don't know. I just want to kind of like go down a little list of reasons why I am personally not having kids. And if you do like identify with this, like, please let me know. Like, please comment down below so I feel like I'm not crazy. But so the first thing I kind of thought about was the idea that I really don't have the help. I think that it truly takes a village to raise a child. I'm not saying that a household has to have a mother and a father in it. I think that a child can be raised by any type of person. But I do feel like it takes a village to raise a child. I know that raising a child is very hard. I know that motherhood is very hard. And I just think that, a mother and a child, a husband, a father, and his child need support from their family, whether it's grandparents, whether it's cousins, whether it's, aunts and uncles, whether it's family friends. I just think that everyone needs support when it comes to raising a child. I don't think that's a crazy thing to think about. But I just realized, in my life, I do not have that support. I really don't have family that is near me. I don't have family that is able to help me. I was raised, a lot by my grandparents, going by their houses on the weekend, like hanging out with my cousins. And I just know that if I were to have a child, that they would not have that. And the current person that I'm talking to right now, they don't have that either. They don't have, a really close relationship with their mother and father. So I know that my child really wouldn't have grandparents, and they don't really have a close relationship with their, cousins and stuff like that. So I just know that my child would just not have a lot of help. I know that I would not have a lot of help in raising my child. And yes, you can send a child to daycare, but daycares are freaking expensive. Like, daycares are so expensive. Not to mention, if you have multiple kids, trying to send your children to daycare, like, and then there's this judgment around sending your child to daycare too early. People like want to advocate for you to be a stay-at-home mom, and that's not really feasible today in America. Women gotta go back to work. So that's just one of the reasons why I just decided, like, maybe children are just not for me. And then also, babies are freaking expensive. Babies are so expensive. Like, to have a child, to raise a child, to send a child to school, to college, to give the child that full life that they are wanting, raising a child is so expensive. Being a mother, being a father, being a parent is just so expensive. And that's why everybody say, oh, don't bring no babies around here because I ain't raising no babies. Because they know the babies are expensive. You got to think about Christmas presents, birthday presents, uniforms, clothes, shoes. Babies go out of clothes every 2.4 seconds. How are people affording kids? How are y'all affording to have children? Because I just don't have the money. Like, I literally do not have the money to raise a child right now. And I don't think it would be smart of me to just have one and then know that I cannot financially, provide for my child. If I had a child, baby, I want that child to be a princess. I want her to be going to Disney World every single day, and I want her to be having the time of her life. I don't never want to be able to tell my child no. And I know I'm going to have to. I know I'm going to have to say, oh, no, baby, we can't afford that. Oh, no, baby, we got McDonald's at home. I don't want to have to do that to my child. I want to be able to spoil my child. And I know theoretically that, or hypothetically, that that's just not going to happen. And I just know that I would not be able to afford a child or give her the life that she would want, or give my children the life that they would want. Do you think that you could fully tell someone who doesn't have, a stable income, like, oh yeah, like, just have children anyways, like, y'all will figure it out? What? Huh? I cannot afford these kids. Are y'all gonna help me pay for these kids? No, I cannot afford these children. I do think the next thing is that a lot of people are not mentally, financially, like, physically ready to have kids. Like, do y'all know what goes into, like, having a child and raising a child? Like, I know that everybody could list out about 5 people right now that know they shouldn't have had no kids. We all know that person that just shouldn't have been a mama. We all know that person that just shouldn't have been a father. There are so many people out here that are raising kids that they didn't want. There's so many people out here raising kids knowing they got mental health issues, knowing they got their own stuff that they are worried about, and they should have figured out first before they had a child. We know so many mothers out there that just knew they shouldn't have had a child. And I think if more people were ready to admit that, like, maybe they're not meant to be a mother. I know there are some people out there that would make great mothers. And there are some people out here that just should not have been mothers. They are really, and I don't think anything's wrong with that. I think there's something very powerful in admitting the fact that maybe you would not make the best mom because you're anxious, or you have bipolar disorder, or you just don't know how to handle anybody but yourself or your partner. Like, maybe you just don't know how to handle children. Like, I think there is nothing wrong with admitting that. And I think more people should be able to admit the fact that, like, I'm not mentally sound to have a child right now, because we all know there's people that got 4 and 5 kids that are not mentally stable enough to have children. And I do not feel like it is right for me to have kids knowing that I'm not mentally ready to have children. And then, not to be nihilistic, but, like, the world just sucks. Like, I think that we all have this general idea that, like, oh, protect the children, save the children are our future. Just think about the way this world is set up, the way that we do not have maternity and paternity leave, for mothers. When you go into the hospital, it's so expensive to have a child. Then when you have the child, there's all this judgment about, how you should raise a child, whether you should breastfeed or do formula or what type of food you're feeding your child. Then when they go to school, people are crazy. People are going up into schools acting crazy, unaliving children. You think about, oh, you send your child to a public school, a private school, a Catholic school. Oh, there's judgment around that. Then, you have to deal with outside factors. There's bullies, there's your teachers, there's this, that. Huh? I'm supposed to raise a child in that type of environment? I'm supposed to think that I and going to be the best mother in the world and raise my child up in that type of world. No, it's just not happening, because I know there are people that will go to war over their kids. I have seen so many TikToks talking about how hard it is to raise a child. I have seen so many TikToks talking about, oh, if you don't have a child, don't. Raising a child is hard. Motherhood is hard. I'm not saying that being a mother is the hardest job in the world. Being a mother is the hardest job in the world. Shout out to all the mothers out there, but I know it ain't gonna be me. I see how hard it is for y'all, and it will not be me. It just won't. And I know maybe y'all are sitting here thinking like, oh, but it's just such a blessing. A child is such a blessing. Yes, they are. Children are a blessing. But I am choosing to remove myself from that narrative. You cannot sit here and tell me that motherhood is easy and that motherhood is for everyone, because y'all know that's not the truth. Y'all know as much as we know that motherhood is one of the hardest things in the world. And some people are just not meant to do it. Some people are just not able to do it. Yes, okay, if a baby were to be thrown in my arms right now, okay, maybe I might know how to raise it. But I think that everybody should have the choice to whether to do so or not. Imagine if I sat up here saying I didn't want kids and I didn't know how to raise a child and I didn't want kids or anything like that, and I just popped out with a child. That is so selfish. That is so irresponsible. I think it is the most responsible thing to opt out of having kids, knowing that I do not know how to raise a child. And I think that, people kind of make fun of people for saying, oh, I want to live the rich aunt life. I just want to be an auntie with, 15 different cats, and I'm going to just come around for Christmas. I think there's something so beautiful in deciding to be a part of a child's village. I said it takes a village to raise a child. I think there's something so wonderful in saying, yes, I do not have children, but I will take my time and my effort, and I will help you raise your child. I have a friend right now who has a little baby boy, and I love him so much. That is practically my nephew. But I would love to help raise that child. Do I want one? No. I want to be able to help her when she is in her time of need. I want to be able to support her when she is in her time, when she needs a break, when she needs somebody to help her. I want to be that person that's like, girl, give me the baby for a couple of hours. I can handle that. I can do that. But I don't want a child. I don't want to be a mother. That is not something I'm really aspiring to do right now. And I see TikToks all day, every day, talking about how hard, how stressful, it is being a mother. It's just hard. I get that. I understand that motherhood is one of the hardest things you can do. So why can't I opt out of it? Why do I have to have a child? Why? If I don't want one, why do I have to have one? I think that, people always say, oh, you're going to die alone. That's the main thing I hear. Oh, you're going to die alone. Nobody going to want you. You know how many men out here don't want to raise no babies? You know how many men out here don't want to have kids? You know how many relationships might have gone a little bit better if they wouldn't have had kids? You know how many relationships probably would have worked out if they wouldn't have had kids? There are some relationships out here that just work because it's just them two and they don't have no children. I think that is something that is just important to admit. There are so many men out here that don't want kids, and if more women would be honest and just say, look, I don't want kids either. I have found a man that wants me and he don't want kids either. So the lie of saying, oh, you're not going to ever find anybody that wants you. Yes, I will. And I think there are many men out there that do not want no kids either. Trust me, because they all sitting on their sofa right now with 25 other kids that they don't take care of. Trust me, I know a ton of men that do not want children. And so, everybody say, oh, well, you're going to die alone. Who going to take care of you? I'm sorry, but if you are having kids just to have someone to take care of you and change your diapers when you are 80 years old, you are having kids for the wrong reasons. I think that it is so weird to have children to kind of like cash in this check for later. I think that we have, as a generation, so much trauma built up around, having to take care of our elderly parents. And also too, like, if I'm old and I don't have nobody to take care of me, I'm going to pay somebody to take care of me. I'm going to pay a professional. I'm going to pay a nurse, a doctor. I'm going to go to hospice. I'm going to move me into a cute little nursing home. I'm not having children or having grandchildren just so they can take care of me later. That's not your child's job to take care of you. And maybe I'm ruffling a couple of feathers saying that, but your child's job is not to take care of you. If you are having children just so they can take care of you later on in life, girl, what you doing? Like, what are you doing? I think that we as millennials have such a weird generation. We as millennials have such a weird relationship with our parents right now. And I think that there's a lot of toxicity having older parents, having boomer parents, having, all of these parents that expecting you to do a certain thing because you're their child. Just because I'm your child does not mean that I am supposed to do X, Y, and Z for you. That is not the reason why you have kids. I kind of messed up a little bit. Dang. I got a little too heated. But I think it's very hard, as millennial women, being the next generation, as Gen Xers. How old are y'all now? I'm not sure. But being the new adults, I guess, and deciding not to have kids, it's hard because I know the older you get, especially when you get married, people start looking at you asking, when are you having kids? And I think it's very hard, especially when your grandparents, nope, when your parents have dreamed of, being grandparents and are keep asking you and asking, when are you having kids? I think it's sometimes hard to kind of tell them like, yeah, bro, like, sorry, but you're not going to get to be a grandparent, especially if you're an only child, but you're not going to get no grandkids from me. I think that's a hard conversation to have, a lot of the times. And I think sometimes we don't know how to support people. I think we just need to support people just the same way if someone would say, oh yeah, we're trying for our first baby. Congratulations. If someone has come to you and says like, oh, we're not going to have kids, like, me and my husband are not having kids, or me and my wife are not having kids, like, I don't think it should be like oh no, like, there's always a way. Have you thought about adopting? Have you thought about, what about IVF? Like, what about that? No, we're not asking for solutions. We're just telling you, like, it's a statement. We are not having children, period. Like, that's it. And I think too, like, I've heard of like, this whole thing about DINKs, dual income, no kids. Oh my God, revolutionary. So basically, if you've never heard of it, a DINK it stands for dual income, no kids. And I think obviously the acronym is a little silly, but it's this idea of these couples that are deciding to just, live their regular lives, be married, and not have children. They are having dual income, meaning they both work and they're just using their income to fund their lifestyle. And they have both decided as a couple to not have kids. And I just think that is beautiful. I think that a woman should be able to do what she wants with her freaking body. I don't think that it is her job to just be a mother and just procreate. I don't think that, being with someone is just about, what they can produce for you. Like, I'm a whole person. If I'm choosing to not have children, then like, you should be okay with that and just say okay with that. The same way that like, I'm not saying I need to be convinced. I'm not saying, oh, just give it time. Just give it time. I'm tired of hearing people say that. Oh, just give it time. Like, you'll want kids later on in life. Just give it time. Okay, so let's flip the script. Let's give a little example. If I said, I don't think I want to go to college, and people kept saying, oh no, just give it time. You'll definitely want to go to college. And I'm just saying, like, no, like I just really, that's just not something I want to do. Like, I have another option. I want to do this. I want to do blah 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 blah. But college is just not for me. If someone said that to you, be like, okay, great. I'm so glad you're smart enough to make that type of decision. You would not just keep forcing them to try to go to college. Like, so why are y'all forcing these women to have kids that they don't want? And then when they have these kids that they don't want, y'all wondering why they horrible parents and don't know how to raise these kids that they don't want. You get what I'm saying? Like, I gotta wipe this off my eye. I feel like I look crazy. Is better? Maybe. Anyways, but like, I just don't understand the idea of forcing a woman to have kids when she keeps saying, I don't want children. And I think there are a lot of women in society that are pressured, by their friends having kids, by their parents saying, oh, we want to be grandparents, I think there's a lot of pressure on women when they start to get up there in age, when they start to get, around their 30s. Oh, when's the baby coming? Oh, we need the baby. And I think that we just feel so much pressure, especially when we just get married, like, to start popping out kids. What? I just got married. Can I not enjoy my husband? Why am I decided to pop out children? Just because I am married does not mean that I am automatically ready to be a mother. Those are two different things. Wife and mother, husband and father, or spouse and parent are just not the same thing. Just because I want to be married, because I personally do want to be married, does not mean I want to have children. Does not mean I want to have kids. And I think that a lot of people think that that is synonymous with each other. Like, oh, y'all got married, so y'all must want the children, right? And I think a lot of people need to start being honest with them that, yes, a lot of moms out here, I'm sure they love their kids more than anything in the world, but I don't think a lot of these women want to be parents. I think we need to be more honest with ourselves and realize that a lot of these women do not want to be parents. A lot of these men out here would rather be off living their lives than being a father. And nothing is wrong with that. I think we think that that's like the craziest thing to say, that like, hey, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I don't want children. Maybe I don't want to raise a child or multiple children. I think that there is nothing wrong with admitting that, like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't the life that I wanted. And I'm not saying that these people, hate their kids or anything like that. Like, please don't take it that way. But I'm just saying, I think if more people were having the conversation and being open about the fact that they didn't want kids, I think the world would be a better place. And I think we need to stop forcing children to assume that they have to be parents. You know, it's always, you know, the second you have a little girl, oh, you're going to be such a great mommy. Oh, you're going to have little babies. Oh, you're going to get married. Oh, is that your boyfriend? Oh, is that your baby? Oh, you're going to have a baby. Why are y'all forcing these little girls to say that they want to be parents when they stop? Like, stop doing that. And I just think that's, you know, already setting them up for failure, because a lot of these little girls, a lot of these women, a lot of these young women think that they have to be parents or something is wrong with them. But, you know, I don't want to keep ranting and raving, but I just had to get that off my chest. And I think that if you are a woman out there that has decided, you know, whether you're married or not, whether you have a boyfriend or not, if you just decided that you don't want kids, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that and saying that out loud. And I get there's a difference between saying, oh, no, I don't want kids right now, versus completely writing off kids, completely saying, you know, no, I don't want children and I'm never going to have kids. It's not about, and I hate to go there, but a lot of people say, well, what would you do if you accidentally got pregnant? What would you do if, like, you just got pregnant? What would you do? And it's like, I said I didn't want kids, and I meant it. I meant I didn't want kids, and so you put two and two together and you understand what I'm saying. When I say I don't want kids, I'm not saying, oh, you know, if I got pregnant, I would keep the baby. I'm just saying, and don't even let me get started about, oh, if you got pregnant, you should get a baby up for adoption. Do you know what our foster system is like? Do you think I would carry a baby for 9 months to put it into the American foster system? Do you know how crazy don't even get me started on that. But I think that is kind of a radical idea to have in 2023 sometimes, when, you know, people are saying, you know, yes, it's my body and it's my choice. Yes, like, I am a woman and I am choosing, like, I don't want children. I do not want them. I meant that. It's not, oh, if I accidentally got pregnant. It's not, oh, I'm going to adopt. It's not, oh, like, what if my husband wanted kids? It's not, oh, I should do IVF. It's a full sentence. I meant what I said. I'm not having children. I don't want children. You cannot convince me otherwise. And there is no way you can change my mind. I do not want children. And so I'm not having children. I do not want to be a mother. And that's just, it is what it is. But, you know, I do welcome you to talk in the comments and let you know, like, what you feel. I hope that what I'm saying is not, like, crazy, because I think that there's nothing wrong with admitting that motherhood is just not for you, especially as a woman, as a 28-year-old woman, when I'm, like, in my prime, you know, to have kids. I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting, you know, motherhood's not for me, because motherhood is one of the hardest things in the world, and I am opting out of it. But yeah, I'm just finishing up my makeup. But I do hope that you kind of understood where my heart was coming from, and understood that, like, once again, I'm going to say this very clearly. I don't hate children. I'm not saying, like, oh, don't have kids. I'm not trying to convince you not to have kids. I'm not saying that, like, you know, oh, mothers are the worst or whatever, or anything like that, that y'all could try to pull out of this. All I'm saying is that women should have the choice to have kids, and women should have the choice to not have kids. And I think in this society, it is kind of a default that women have children. And I think that we need to kind of start having this conversation that maybe women should have the option whether they want kids or not. I think that women who are married, I think that couples that are married should start having the option if they are having kids or not. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting married and wanting to get married and deciding to not have kids. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you can be married for the rest of your life with your husband, living the best life in the world, and not have children. And I don't think there should be any judgment, because it's your body and it's your choice. And no man, no parent, nobody should force you to do something that you don't want with your body. And that's just how I feel. That is just how I feel. So I thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you were someone right now that has decided or just decided or wondering, do I want kids or do I not want kids? I hope this video was helpful for you, even though it was a little bit ranty. I do welcome you to comment in the comment section about how you feel about kids, whether you want them or not, or anything like that. I post new videos every single Wednesday, so I will see you guys next week. Bye!